Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Real Sportsman. He's at Teddy_Covers. What a card in the association tonight. Most of these games mean something, and 6 games with teams with a winning record go head-to-head. They just played last week. Let's start with the Spurs and the Wizards. San Antonio's 1.5 and 202 on the road. 43-31 against 40-33. Last Wednesday, they were laying 5.5. They won by 8, but they led 95-74 with 3:30 left. And the Wizards without Wall, remember that was a cute story about, sharing the ball, and he wasn't getting people involved, and we're having a lot of fun. Well, they were 10-3 straight up in ATS. Now, the last 12 without Wall, 4-8 straight up, and 3-8-1 ATS, and they just lost at home to the Knicks, Teddy.
Yeah, and that was a pretty ugly performance. You know,
yes.
When you talk about the meeting last Wednesday, the Spurs, again, they were -5.5 at home. They won that game by 8. But very misleading final score. They were up by 21 with less than 4 to play in that contest, even though they only won by 8. San Antonio dominated the game last Wednesday. Let's throw that graphic up with and without John Wall again, for the Wizards. The first 13 games without Wall, they were great. The last dozen, and look at that, 4-8 straight up. The 8 losses, 4 of them have come when they were favored. So they 4 outright losses when they were favored, and favored twice in 2 games that went to OT. They could easily be 2-10 right now, straight up in their last dozen ball games. They just won a couple of overtime games. And boy, that loss to the Knicks. I don't have a graphic. Here's a quote from Bradley Beal. Quote, "We acted like we didn't give a damn, honestly. We thought we could just show up and play because they don't have anything to play for. We just thought it was going to be a cakewalk, and they just smacked us in the mouth." No show against the Knicks. Step-up spot here against the Spurs. And John Wall, he's at least on the horizon now. He just went through his first full practice. There's no timetable set for his return. Scott Brooks is anxiously anticipating John Wall being back. Quote, "He brings the juice. He brings the energy level up. We practice pretty hard, and our guys have great habits. When you're talking about one of the best players in the leagues, that raises the level in the gym. The awareness level's up, the energy, the attention to detail, everything is up. When you're going against him, you better be locked in because it can put you in some pretty embarrassing positions." No question right now, Washington trying to hang on until Wall gets back. He's not going to be back in the lineup against San Antonio tonight.
And you have the Spurs. This West is so stacked. Oklahoma OKC has 31 losses. New Orleans, San Antonio also 31 losses. The Jazz have 32, and Minnesota has 33. So this is a tough schedule coming up for the Spurs as well. They just went 6-0 on that homestand, had the big overtime win against the Jazz. But they lost at Milwaukee on Sunday. They are 1-8 straight up, their last 9 on the road. Pop on the turnaround after the 3-11 slide. Quote, "I think we lost enough to refocus." As simple as that sounds. We talked about the defense. We worked on it in shoot-arounds when we didn't have practices. They're an intelligent group. They realize if we don't get that back together, we've got nothing because we slip out offensively. You also have the issue with Kawhi Leonard where they had that team meeting, which Steven Jackson is now saying Pop ordered that, and Parker and Ginobili going at it, and they were animated and yelling at each other, and Kawhi wouldn't give in and said, "Hey, I don't want to come back. I'm not ready." So maybe that's the kind of team is rallying around that as well. But how about Aldridge? He's been a beast with this 6-1 run. Look at his numbers. Look at this graphic. 24, 25, 39, 33, 27, 45, and 34 points. And check out the plus-minus in those games. The problem is they're plus 95 with him in those 7 games. They're minus 10 when he's sitting. He's been huge, but they're peaking at the right time. But I am concerned here, and it's a tough handicap because remember, the Wizards were coming off a home loss when they played the Knicks and no-showed. So I don't know where their heads are at, is they're in the 6th seed right now. They might get the 8 if they're not careful. I don't think the 4 and 5 are doable, that they're not going to catch Philly with an easy schedule in Indiana as well. So Spurs with their issues on the road, that's a tough handicap, Teddy, laying 1.5.
It is. I know that I'm reluctant to take San Antonio in this spot. And you nailed it when you talked about Aldridge. Show that graphic one more time with LaMarcus Aldridge during this impressive run for San Antonio. And number one, they haven't been beating a whole lot of good teams. A whole lot of teams, I shouldn't say they haven't been beating a whole lot of teams playing well during this span. But number two, man, the plus-minus minutes for Aldridge. You said it, plus 95 with him on the floor, minus 10 when he's sitting during a span where they went 6-1 the Wizards can match up with LaMarcus Aldridge fairly well. And I know Washington was a no-show against the Knicks. I'm generally interested in teams off a bad loss like the one they suffered, where everyone's starting to point fingers. I don't know Washington's going to fall apart. I think this might be a step-up spot for the Wizards in a game against a San Antonio team that may be playing better now, but they still haven't solved the riddle of how to win on the highway so far this season. Like the show? Help us keep the lights on. Please make sure to comment, share, and subscribe to all the Sportsbook Review videos. Thanks so much. Best of luck. Enjoy the game.